We're going to do 9-8, factor by grouping. This is the last section in Chapter 9. I believe this one probably is one of the easier of the lessons. One, you will know that it's going to be factored by grouping because you're going to have 4 terms. So in each of the problems, you'll see that there are 4 terms. Everything else that we are working with is 3 terms. So you see 4 terms, you know it's going to be factored by grouping. So what do you do when you factor by grouping? Well, there's a couple things that you need to look at. One, and probably all of these examples, I'm going to be able to group together the first 2 and the last 2, but that's not necessarily the case for every single one. It may be more beneficial if you group, say, the first and the third, and then the second and the fourth, or the first and the last and the middle 2. But you'll see here in the first one, I'm going to group these 2 together. So what that means is when I group them together, I'm looking at these so that I can take out something. So what do they have in common? Well, or what can we divide into both of them? Well, I can divide a 4 into both of them. I can also take out here an n squared because they both have at least an n squared in it. So when I take that out, so this is kind of the reverse of the distributive property, you can take this number and divide it by that. So 4 divided by 4 is 1, n cubed divided by n squared is n. 8 divided by 4 is 2, and n squared by n squared just gets canceled out. And then if you would distribute that, you would end up with what you started with. So that's how you do the first part. Second part's going to be the same thing. What do they have in common? What could you factor out? What is the greatest common factor? It's going to be a -5. So -5 divided by -5n, it's just going to be n. And then -5 divided by, or excuse me, -10 divided by -5 is going to be +2. Now the nice thing about factor by grouping, you're going to know that you did it correct when your 2 groups of parentheses are the same. So whatever value you have in here, you better have over here. If you don't, you know you did something wrong. So this kind of has a built-in check mechanism. So you're looking for your 2 groups of parentheses to be the same. So then you need to do one more step to get your final answer. So final answer is going to be this. You're going to take what's in parentheses that you had in both. You're going to write that down. Then you're going to take what you have left over, which that's going to be the numbers that are in front of your parentheses. You're going to have 4n squared minus 5. And that is your answer, and that's how you would factor this out. So you can do a check by doing the FOIL method. You can go n times this, you're going to get that. That's going to give you 5n. This is going to give you 8n squared, and then this will give you -10. You can do a quick check on it to see if it works out, and it does in this case. So the next one, let's go ahead and group our first 2 together here, and our last 2. So what can you take out here? You take out a 5, take out a t cubed. So when you take that out here, you're just going to be left with a t. Excuse me. Here, you can be left with a 4. Over here, looks like I can take out a 6. So you're left with a t plus 4. I know that I did it right because both of these are t plus 4. So you're going to write that down, t plus 4. And then what you have left over, 5t cubed plus 6. And then that's your answer. So you may be asking, okay, well, what if I can't group the first 2 together? All right, no big deal. Let's just do a quick side example here. So let's say that I wanted to group the first and the third one together, and then the second and the fourth. So when you're looking at that, you can't take anything out of the numbers, but you could take out a t. So this is the answer. This is just a side answer, or a different method of doing it. So we're going to take out a t. That means I'm going to be left with a 5t cubed plus 6. And then if I'm grouping these two together, looks like what? What could I take out of a 20 and a 24? Looks like I could take out a 4. So what am I left with? So that would be a 5t cubed. And then here will be a 6. Once again, you'll know that you did it correct because your parentheses will be the same. So you have 5t cubed plus 6. And then what you have left over is a t plus 4. And you'll notice that that is the same answer. It's just this parenthesis is written first. This one was written second. But they're the same answers. So once again, just to make sure, you can group the first two, first and second. You could do even the last ones. Sometimes it's real obvious as to which ones you want to do. Once again, if you don't get the same thing in your parentheses, then you know you did something wrong, so go back and fix that. I'll group these two and these two. Looks like the only thing I'll be able to take out is a w squared. So you're left with a 2w plus 1. So when you take out a w squared from w squared, you have a 1 left over. Looks like in the second group, I'm only going to be able to take out a negative 7. So you're going to be left with 2w plus 1. They're the same. You have 2w plus 1. And then you have w squared minus 7. And once again, you can do a quick check. Just do distributive property or FOIL method. 2w, w squared gives you 2w cubed. That will give you negative 14w. This will give you w squared, and that will give you negative 7. So you can do a quick check. You don't even have to write anything out. You can pretty much do that right in your head.